got to have social presence, and the big thing is you have to do it regularly. Every week, do an article and do a video.
You're listening to episode 136 of the Fitness Business Podcast. We'd like to thank this month's premier podcast partner, Precor, delivering industry-leading cardio, strength, functional training products and service to over 90 countries across the world. Welcome everyone, I'm your host Chantal, and each week we bring you expert guests from across the world to help you become a better, stronger and more profitable fitness business owner, manager and fitness professional. This week's expert guest is Furness. He is a certified speaking professional, an internationally sought-after sales and technology speaker, and social media presenter. He's a specialist in sales, technology, social media, and goal setting, and how they work in tandem to produce great results for organizations. Frank has presented at Entrepreneurs University, and his clients include the British Olympic team, the Professional Cricketers Association, plus Sporting Champions and Sport England. I am so excited about today's interview because we are zeroing in on exactly how you can dominate the first page of Google. And Frank has a ton of advice and tools that you're going to be able to start using right away. Before we move into this week's interview, here is a quick message from one of our podcast partners.
Hi, this is Stanley Polo from Precor. We deliver premium products and industry-leading service to over 90 countries across the world. If you have a club in Latin America and the Caribbean, then I would love to help you with your equipment needs. You can contact me at www.precor.com or email me at stanley.polo@precor.com. stanli.polo@precor.com. Thank you.
We are incredibly lucky to be joined by today's guest. Frank, welcome and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey Chantal, thanks so much. It's great being back on the show again.
Now, our focus today is analysing your competitors online, and we're going to talk a lot. I think last week you mentioned about how do we rank number one in Google on our online searches. So tell us first and foremost, why would you use your valuable time analysing your competitors' online presence?
Well, when you think about it now, so many of the members nowadays would go into Google and they would type in a certain search term. So it might be health and fitness club in Sydney or how to lose weight in New York. And whatever's going to come up on the first page, they're going to start looking at, and probably only the first 3 or 4. So what you want to do is you want to be in the first 3 or 4. So what you've got to do is you've got to find all of those, whatever anyone would type in, type that into Google and see who comes up. Now, these are your competitors, and chances are, if they're on the first page, they're going to get some of those members. What you want to do is analyze them, see how they're getting up on the first page, and then use strategies to jump over them and even dominate that first page of Google.
Okay, so you talk about analysing them. So let's dive into a little bit of detail around that. How do we actually go about analysing them?
Okay, so what I would do, I would type in the search term and up would come a number of clubs on that first page over there. The first tool I use is one called SEO Quake, as in earthquake, SEO Quake. And what that does is that puts in an extra toolbar onto the first page of Google. So as each of the clubs come up, you'll click under it onto the SEO Quake, and that takes you into what Google is seeing. It'll analyze everything about that club, what keywords they're using, who they're linking to, who's linking back to them again. Brilliant tool, and it's free. I then use 3 other tools, and again, the tools I'm going to give you now are, please analyze your own club with this tool first, because it'll tell you what is great about your website and what needs to be fixed, and then analyze all of those competitors that come up on the first page. Now, again, the names are a bit weird, so just feel free to email me, frank@frankfurness.com, and I'll send you the list. But here we go. The first one is called Nibbler, Nibbler, nibbler.silktide.com. I don't know where they get these names from. That sounds like a porn
That's
site.
a tongue twister.
Yeah, nibbler.silktide.com. The second one's a bit easier, website.grader.com. And the third one is site-analyzer with a Z.com. So those are the things that I use not only to analyze my site, but all of my competitors to see what they're doing, who they're linking to, what keywords they're using, what's great about their site, and why Google is putting them up onto the first page.
Frank, can I get you to go back to the very first one, which was nibbler? What was the second word there? Can you spell that out for us?
Yeah, so it's nibbler.silktide, silktide.com.
Wow, that's tricky. I'm so glad I got you to spell that out. So what I'm going to do, everyone, is to make your life really easy is I will look up each of those sites that Frank just mentioned, and I'll make sure that we include links for those in this week's show notes. So Frank, once we have gone through that process, and as you say, first of all, do it for our own site and then have a look at our competitors. Once you've got that information, how can we actually utilize that information to impact our future marketing moves for our own business?
So what we've got to do now, we're seeing what our competitors are doing, and what we want to do is get onto that first page, but also dominate the first page of Google. And yeah, we use a number of social strategies, because what Google is looking now is at social presence. How much presence have you actually got on all of the social sites? Again, I mentioned last week a little thing called COPE, create once, publish everywhere. So the one thing you have to do, I said last week that every week I make one video and I make one blog. Now, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to become part of the Google family. Whatever you do, think Google. Now, my blog is with blogger.com, and the reason why is Blogger belongs to Google. Any videos I do with YouTube, because of course YouTube belongs to Google. And then there's a little thing called Google Plus, which is most probably the most useless thing on the planet, except for search engine optimization. So my strategy every week is I do one article in Blogger and I put in a lot of the keywords there. So the keywords that I've analyzed from my competitors, I put all of those in. As soon as I publish the blog, I then go and I promote it with Google Plus. I do exactly the same with a video. I publish the video, I take that link, and I promote it with Google+. Now, if you want to see how effectively this works, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. So my main business is in the UK. That's where my website is. Chances are I shouldn't come up on the first page where you are. But if you have to type in sales and technology speaker, which is how I want to be found, you'll see I dominate the first page of Google. And when you see how I dominate it, you'll see the first is my website. The second one, incredibly powerful, which is LinkedIn. Now, here's another thing I want to speak about. Everyone listening, please go and optimize your LinkedIn profile. In fact, firstly, go and have a look at my LinkedIn profile. I've optimized it and copy exactly what I've done. Just change it to what you do over there. And you'll see how I've got the keywords based throughout there. You'll see in my profile, I'm speaking to one person, not many. I haven't written in the third person over there. So LinkedIn probably is the second or third biggest search engine now. And when Google is scraping, it's going to be scraping LinkedIn all the time. So if you've optimized that, you'll see you would get onto the first page. Because when you think about it, people do three kinds of searches. They do a Google search where you want to dominate. They do a YouTube search. We've just spoken about the videos. Or they do a LinkedIn search. Now, by doing that, you dominate all three of those search engines. The next thing you've got to do is, once you've published either that article or that video, now you've got content there. You can get that out everywhere. So I've got my article on Blogger, and now I use a thing called repurposing or spinning the article. I go to a site called Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, which is amazing. Costs you anything from $5 to get videos made, articles written, articles spinned. I use it all the time. It's absolutely brilliant. So I go there and I get my article rewritten. Once it's rewritten, I now put one original onto Blogger. I put another one onto my LinkedIn. I put another one onto my website. The video I put onto YouTube. I then put that same video onto LinkedIn. I put it onto my website. I put it onto Vimeo. So you can see, just by having one piece of content each week, if you share that in every format, it's going out all over the internet. Google is scraping. It's going to pick up those keywords of yours, like you'll see my keyword sales technology speaker. And again, there's an interesting thing. People don't search for Frank Furness. They've never heard of Frank Furness, but they're going to put in that search term. So it's going to be weight loss Washington, some of those search terms. But you've got to have social presence. And the big thing is you have to do it regularly. Every week, do an article and do a video.
Frank, I have so many questions from that answer. That was absolutely brilliant. So the first question is this. When it comes to LinkedIn, we actually had back at the beginning of 2017, we had John Bellamy, who is a LinkedIn expert. He came on the show and talked about using LinkedIn for fitness professionals. Now, you gave yourself as the example of optimizing your own LinkedIn profile. And of course, the product and service that you're selling is your own speaking services. So when we are putting that in the context of someone that owns a gym, a fitness facility, a studio, is it still important for that person to optimize their own personal LinkedIn page? Are there any other tips and tricks that you can share with us that we should be keeping in mind to ensure that we are utilizing LinkedIn to market our fitness studio?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you've got to do, the first thing is you're going to have your business LinkedIn, your club LinkedIn profile, which has got to be optimized. And let's just say it was Health and Fitness Studio, New York. So you've got to have that all throughout there. And then what you do is you go to your own personal, and throughout your profile, you're going to be having owner, Health and Fitness Studio, New York. Hi, my name is Frank Furness. I'm the owner of XYZ Studios, which is one of the best health and fitness. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm putting that keyword throughout my personal and my other profile. So if somebody comes to LinkedIn and they're typing health and fitness studio in New York, they're not only going to pick up my club, they're also going to pick up my personal profile, plus Google is going to be picking up on both of those.
Fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for diving into that. Now, the other question that I have was in regards to Fiverr.com, which I'm a huge fan of Fiverr, and we have talked about it on the show before. I'm really interested to know, because you said that you pop your blog article into Fiverr and you get it rewritten. Can you talk me through that a little bit more? Because one of the challenges I think so many fitness owners and fitness professionals face is time, being time poor and trying to do a lot. And I love this idea of really capitalizing on repurposing our content into multiple different formats. And I think one of the other challenges we have is it's not always easy to take our thoughts and ideas and our knowledge and turn them into a written articles. So the idea around rewriting a blog post, I think, is fantastic. So can you give me a bit of an example of what that looks like from the original blog? How does someone rewrite it? Is it a rejigging? Is it a bullet pointing? How does that look?
Well, what happens with Google only recognizes the first and original article. So if you're going to post that same article on all of the other sites, you're not going to get any bonus points for that. What you want to do is have it spun or repurposed. And somebody on Fiverr, you'll get the experts there, always look for highly rated people. They will take that. I took one of my articles and I got 100 different rewrites coming back again. Now what I do is I take each of those rewrites, because they're all 50% different. So Google will see each of those as new content and optimize them for me. I give each of those a different heading then, and I put them onto a different social media platform. So that way I'm getting the most out of one article or one piece of information. The other thing, as I've said, every week I do one video and I do one article. Now, you're an owner of a business, of a club. You're going to come in every Monday morning and you're going to be so busy. You're going to say, I'm going to get around to it, and it's not going to happen. What I'd recommend to you is take one day a month, and you, or maybe you and your team, just set a day aside, just for creating content. So that's what I do. I just flew back from Dubai yesterday. I had 15 and a half hours, and that was my content creation time. So I wrote a number of articles. I've got enough articles now for the next 2 or 3 months. What I'm doing later on this week at my home in Orlando, I've turned my garage into a green screen film studio, and I will go in and I'll make a number of videos. So when I was out here the last time, in one day, I made 155 videos. Now, remember,
that's
each
huge.
video, each video is only 2 minutes long.
Wow.
Now, the preparation time is 3 weeks for that one day. So I would have had all of the auto cues, and the post-production of putting it all together will be another month after that. But the actual filming was just there. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I had rows of clothes there. I had different gear that I was putting on. I kept changing jackets, shirts, so it always looked like I was in a new place. But I produce all of my content. Otherwise, if I've got to come in on Monday and say, I've got to produce some content, I'm always going to be too busy.
Oh, that is such a great tip, Frank. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to share my own little tip of something that we do to repurpose content, because as our regular listeners will know, we started off only as an audio platform. We then started getting videos made out of the audio files. And most recently, we've started transcribing our audio files. And there is a fantastic website that I use, which is called rev.com, which is rev.com, which takes our podcast, our audio file, and turns it into a written file, which we then post as a transcription in our show notes page. So there's a little tip. If anyone loves doing audio or prefers to kind of tell their story on audio, you can always get that transcribed and written out. And then, of course, using Frank's tip to repurpose it using Fiverr. So one last thing while I've got you, Frank, and that is I'm hoping you can share with us a couple of tips when it comes to positioning our own online presence.
Okay, and if I can go back just one step there, Chantal, what you just said about Rev is brilliant. If you've got videos, use Rev as well, because what it'll do, it will go and it'll transcribe that, and you can then put that into your video. And as people are watching the talking on the video, they'll see the writing underneath to reinforce it as well.
Ah, fantastic. Great tip. Thank you. Okay, we're going to hear from Frank again in just a moment, but first, here's a message from one of our podcast partners. We'd like to thank our sponsor, OneFitStop, for their support, and we highly recommend all fitness professionals go to onefitstop.com to find out how their software will enable you to take control of day-to-day management in your fitness business. OneFitStop's scheduling, client management, programming, and payment collection tools will set your business up for success. Now let's get back to Frank, where he's sharing tips for positioning our own online presence.
Okay, so final question, there's some fitspiration. So 3 tips over there. The first thing is know your audience. Now, depending on the kind of club you have, your audience might be different, or you might have different kinds of audiences. You might have a hardcore young guys coming in, they just bodybuilding. You might have a social audience that comes in there and they just want to meet and have coffee. And you might even have an older audience. If I take an example of the club that I belong to in London, David Lloyd, it is more a tennis club than anything else. So we have thousands of tennis members. We have a huge older population. For them, it's social. And then we have the younger that go into the gym and work out. Now, you can't have one social strategy that suits all of them because they all want different kinds of things. So what I would suggest, if you had a club like that, you're going to have 3 different social strategies for each of those members. So the first thing is find out who is your audience, who are the people that actually come to your club. The second thing is find out where do they hang out. Actually ask them, when they're signing up to join your club, say to them, what social media platforms are you on? What kind of content would you like from us? What you can then also do is in your monthly newsletter is just say to them, listen, we're updating everything. What are your favorite social media platforms? What can we do for you? Because what happens is most clubs give all of their members content that they think their members want. And often the members are saying, actually, I'm not really interested in that. Always ask your audience, ask your members what they want. And they'll say to you, listen, I want more Facebook, and on Facebook, I want videos. I want the videos not to be longer than 2 minutes. I want training tips. I want weight loss tips. They'll tell you, now you put content together that is actually going to suit your audience. And once you've got all of that information, you now only get your sales and marketing plan together and you optimize giving all of the product and information to them. That way, what you're going to do, firstly, you're going to attract new members, but more importantly, with all of that great content, you're going to retain all of the members you already have, which is one of the biggest challenges for most clubs.
That is great advice, Frank. Thank you so, so much for that. I want to just thank you for your time today. Thank you for coming on and diving into the world of learning more about our competitor, what to have a look for our competitors, for sharing those great websites with us. And as I mentioned right at the very beginning of the interview, I'm going to go and do a little bit of background work and grab all of those links for our listeners so that as soon as you go to the show notes today, they will be there for you and you can action some of that great advice that Frank has given us today. So Frank, thank you so much for joining us on the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thanks so much. And again, if anyone, just please take a look at my website. If you've got any questions, drop me a line, frank@frankfurness.com. Chantal, thanks so much for having me on the show.
Absolute pleasure, Frank.
Get ready for this week's bonus segment, your extra injection of information, education, and inspiration to strengthen your fitness business.
I have two pieces of really exciting news to share with you today. The first one is that we are launching the Fitness Business Podcast Santa Sack. What's in the virtual Santa Sack, I hear you ask? Well, it is chock-a-block full of discounts on products and services and offers from our wonderful podcast partners and suppliers from the fitness industry all across the world. What this means is that from December the 1st, you can go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/Santa Sack to see all of the great offers that are available. We're going to be adding to the Santa Sack every single week, so make sure that you continue to check it out. So once again, that is fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/Santa Sack, and it launches on December the 1st. Now, the second piece of news I wanted to remind you about is that you are all invited to our next FBP family meetup, which is happening at FitX, New Zealand on Saturday, November the 25th. We're going to be meeting bright and early at 5:50 a.m. at the front door of the AUT campus building. Everyone is invited to come along. Like with all of our FBP family meetups, we walk for 45 minutes and it is the best way to meet new people from the industry and get some exercise along the way. To register to come along to the meetup, just go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Up the very top of the homepage, you'll see a link to the FitX FBP family meetup. Click on that link and you can register right there. And needless to say, it's free.
Precore Quickfire 5.
Michael Stelzner is the founder of Social Media Examiner, author of the books Launch and Writing White Papers, and the man behind Social Media Marketing World, the industry's largest conference. He is also the host of one of my absolute favorite podcasts, the Social Media Marketing Podcast. He's the founder of Social Media Marketing Society and the host of the weekly Social Media Marketing Talk Show. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
So tell everyone, why do you do what you do?
I totally love my job. I love my work, and that's the main reason I do it, because I get great joy out of it.
And what's one ritual that helps you become better at what you do?
I don't take any morning meetings at all.
Good one. And what's an app or system that you use to stay in control of your workload?
Trello is my best friend.
Trello, is it Trello?
You got it.
And just tell us really quickly, what does Trello do for you?
Yeah, so Trello is a really amazing project management system. It's super visual. It allows you to very easily assign tasks and also monitor the progress of people on your team.
Excellent. And tell us, what's one book, podcast, or blog that you would recommend and why?
I love the book Necessary Endings by Dr. Henry Cloud. And simply said, if you are thinking that there's something you need to stop so that you can start something new, then you must read this book.
Great one. And tell everyone what topic you're going to be focusing on in our main interview next week.
I'm going to talk about how to be more successful by doing less.
Oh, I cannot wait for our chat next week. So, Michael, thank you very much for joining us for the Precore Quickfire 5.
See you next week.
Thank you so much for joining me for the Fitness Business Podcast. Before we finish off today, a quick reminder that all the resources, the links, and the transcript for today's show can be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you so much to all of our partners for their support and our foundation partner, Active Management. You can go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active for a free business development ebook. That is all for this week's show. I'll see you next week, and remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.